Hi everybody, in this video we'll try to understand some more interesting things about Krittika Nakshatra. So basically Krittika means scissors. Any sharp object can be represented, as a symbol of Krittika Nakshatra. Basically they have the penetrating nature. So they can understand your emotions by penetrating into your, emotions, and of course, they criticize if other placements of their horoscope is not good, but if the placements are good, with that penetrating nature they can understand your emotions and they will try to make you feel better, but if other placements are not good, then you cannot handle Kritika people basically. So another important thing is Kritika. The Kritikas are actually the 7 wives of 7 celestial sages that are looking after our affairs of our galaxy. So basically Lord Kartikeya was nourished by these Kritikas. So whenever you talk about Kritika, you talk about nourishing, you talk about feeding, nourishing, training, teaching, because after teaching, training, nourishing, after doing all these things only, Lord Kartikeya became a very young and dynamic boy and killed the demons to give back the heavens to the gods. So that was the story we discussed in our previous video also. And one more thing I want to tell you. So whenever we talk about Kritika, you talk about fostering, because Lord Kartikeya raised by foster mothers, not by the original mother. So when you talk about Kritika, generally we talk about fostering, right? So when there is Kritika, there is a sense of fostering. Even when you talk about Krittika Nakshatra, you not only talk about Lord Kartikeya story, you also talk about Lord Krishna, who actually raised up by foster parents. So this is the main energy of Krittika, and Krittika people are critical, and they are actually so Krittika people can criticize, they can understand, whenever you show a person, a very great person, Kritika people can clearly scan the person and try to find the faults. Fault finding is another behavior of Kritika. That's the energy present in Kritika Nakshatra basically. So Kritika means critical. So Kritika's piercing quality, the penetrating quality, lends itself to the criticizing and fault finding part of human nature. And Kritika aims to get to the root of any action or situation, and consequently it comes across all the imperfections which often lie between the apparent and the real. So fault finding, Kritika is nothing but another energy of Kritika is fault finding. So Kritika doesn't tolerate imperfections because it sees them as obstacles in achieving its decidedly fixed goals. So they cannot tolerate imperfections. See, this is the behavior of a child growing up. If you take Ashwini, a child coming out, and Bharani is a child that has already come out, and then Kritika is a child who is rising up, right? So he actually he sees everything generally, and he says, why God created this one this way, why not this way? This seems to be not correct, right? So this kind of fault finding behavior is observed in Kritika more. So what you see in the Sukshma Dasa is what you understand, or what you feel in the Sthula Dasa. That is a fundamental principle followed by astrology, right? So the fault finding behavior is in the sukshma dasa. If you want to observe, that's, that's where you can observe a child rising up, growing up. And planets placed in Kritika give one pointed action and fiery bursts of energy. They act in a sudden and explosive manner. Kritika natives have a direct and straightforward approach and don't like to beat about the bush, because a child rising up, if you observe, right, if you try to explain him with so much of you know theories and all the stuff, he may not be able to he may not have the patience to listen all the things. So you may need to be a bit straightforward, right? So that's what they like. So they like straightforward approach. They don't like to beat about the bush. They usually have cutting and blunt manners, which often offends or intimidates those around them, because they are like sharp objects. So one must, however, remember that Kritika natives are good at putting up social graces and do not act in a cutting or sharp manner all the time. They know, see, by evolution process, initially, of course, they might be very much cutting in nature, but later, you know, they can understand this one, because they have the power to penetrate, they have the power to go inside your emotion and understand things. They have the same energy applicable to them. They try to apply that energy on them also, and they can try to understand their behavior, and they know how to behave uh, in a social world. They can try to control that cutting up nature and sharp manner, but they are that. So in a very immediate situation, that nature has to come out. So they have an extreme temper, but it does not last for more than a few seconds, because just you observe a knife, how it cuts a vegetable, it cuts in a second, right? Similar to that. It's not like it is cutting for a long time, it just cuts. So the same kind of extreme temper they have. So Kritika exemplifies Sun's anger rather than Mars' anger. Mars' anger is a revenge-taking, long-lasting anger, whereas Sun is a king and Sun's anger is a very short. So Sun's anger doesn't last for very long, but Mars' anger, if you see, lingers on with an avenging, revenge-taking attitude, right? So it's just like the king, Sun is basically king, right? So the king does not need to stay angry for long to declare a war. But if you observe the commander, he has to be angry like Mars, or soldiers like Mars, right? They actually fight the battle. So they need that sustained anger to keep them interested in battles. So Kritika is like, Kritika's lord is Sun, of course. It's like Sun's anger. So Kritika natives usually hide their caring, nurturing, and maternal side beneath hard, stern exteriors. If you look at them, they may look like very blunt, but they have this caring nature, nurturing. Because when you talk about Kritika, you have to talk about nourishment, training, and teaching. They have this capacity. See, fire, despite its dangerous and destructive potential, it cooks our food, warms us upon a cold day, right? And even more, if you observe the fire, it helps make most of the things we require for a comfortable living. So fire is required. Fire is not only for bad things. We are doing very good things using fire on daily basis. So fire is what makes civilization possible, right? So sun's fire, if you observe, it is making life possible on earth. So this is the reason why Kritika natives are usually the life-sustaining element within their social sphere. So they like to support others around them through their warmth, independence, and willpower. But in some cases, if you observe, this may be excessive. They have this nourishment, nurturing nature, very excessive, and the result is similar to overcooked food. So they support others a lot. So because they have this motherly nature, if you look at them outside, they have this kind of blunt nature, straightforward nature. They have this kind of nature, but they are basically caring, nurturing, and they have maternal side. So Kritika natives can actually support, right, a lot, and they have this kind of blunt nature as well, right? But they do not have any real malefic intent. They have this blunt nature. They may hurt you by their words, right? But they do not have any malefic intent. So that's where the Kritika people are good. They are basically good, but they are blunt. They are not good with their tongue, right? But there is no malefic intent, right? But they try to criticize, they try to fault find, they try to penetrate into your emotions and try to understand them, but there is no real malefic intent. But if there is any malefic placement somewhere in the horoscope, so that's why a Kritika's energy person's horoscope has to be checked thoroughly and nicely. Then only you can come to a conclusion. They have this kind of malefic, blunt nature, right? So they try to understand your emotions, they try to understand people better, they fault find, they criticize, they fault find. On a spiritual level, if you observe, this particular nakshatra can provide intense awareness and allows one the ability to undergo extreme forms of purification, because this is a knife, the purification, fire, Agni, right? A purification process. If you observe a Kritika person evolved, he can purify himself and he can try to purify others as well. Kritika has the capacity to purify, not only the capacity to nurture and nourish. So on a spiritual level, Kritika is forever devoted to cutting its way along a clear path towards the development of one's true inner nature. And you can say, any kind of obstructions it can cut off to reach the goal, the spiritual goal. It can cut any kind of problems to achieve the spiritual goal, right? They have that ability. Even you can see Lord Kartikeya, really, he killed all the demons and gave the heavens back to the gods. So when it is strong, when the Kritika energy is strong, it indicates a kind of sudden ups and downs in life, but they can cut off, right? Because Lord Kartikeya, had to battle, had to fight with demons, right? Warrior. So Kritika considered to be an active nakshatra. You can see sun's nakshatra, Agni element, fault finding, right? So cutting, penetrating, very sharp, training, nourishment, See all these things, so much of activity, right? So this is an active nakshatra. So um, and commander of the uh, gods, Lord Kartikeya is actually uh, is related to Krittika. So just imagine how much activities. So it has that restless activity, and it can be any kind of field that they are in. It can be leadership, nurturing, education, or battle, because this is what you say about Kritika. It's a leadership because Lord Kartikeya became the commander of the gods. And nurturing because Kritikas basically they nurture and nourish. They have that maternal side inside. Education and training is basic and fundamental thing of Kritika. And battles and wars, yes, Lord Kartikeya is actually his main aim of his birth was actually to war against the demons. So it basically it is related to a Brahminical caste. Um, you may get surprised to see this in Brahminical caste because Lord Kartikeya is a warrior and he's a commander in chief for the gods, and Sun is actually the ruler of this nakshatra. So lot of kshatriya activities here, right? Warrior, wars, battles, right? And also the leadership. This is all kshatriyas uh, duties basically. It's very heroic nakshatra basically. If you observe, Kritika is heroic in nature. So you may suddenly you may think it's warrior like nature. All these things, by seeing it should belong to kshatriya uh, you know uh, behavior, kshatriya's energy, but basically it has that Brahminical. About our sages segregated it into Brahminical nakshatras because this nakshatra is Brahminical because it intense involvement with learning and knowledge and education. Kritika energy has more into this education, nurturing, training. So in ancient days, the people who, because of course Lord Kartikeya was born, uh, you know, was raised up by Kritikas and all this stuff. A lot of Kshatriya activities are involved with this nakshatra, but you see the main energy of this nakshatra was nurturing, training, and nourishment. In ancient days, generally the Brahmins used to train the people, right? Even the warriors, if you observe, even the warriors, they used to give training for wars and battles as well, like Dronacharya. Even Vasishtha gave training to Lord Sri Rama, right? So Parshurama is another, sage who actually, it's not sage. He was also a kind of trainer, you can say, great trainer. Um, so it has that learning, knowledge, education, training, and all this stuff. So it's basically Kritika means the Kritikas, right? Who actually trained, nourished, and nurtured Lord Kartikeya. So that's where the Brahminical thing is coming into the picture, right? So naturally, you can also see this nakshatra has that philosophical side and purification and the spirituality, going towards the purification and the spirituality. All these things, considering all this intent, all this base behavior of Kritika, it is considered as a Brahminical nakshatra. It is a female nakshatra um, because you can say there's a lot of nourishment and nurturing training of Kritikas to Lord Kartikeya. So basically it is mainly related to that. So that is a female quality, so it's a female nakshatra. And hips, loins, and the crown of the head are the body parts related to this nakshatra. And if then any affliction of this nakshatra can create problems in these areas: hips, crown of the head, right? So loins. And it is primarily, in Ayurveda, it is considered as a kapha nakshatra. It's a watery nakshatra. Its kapha quality, um, basically, they they got this kapha quality, they assigned kapha quality to this nakshatra from its relationship with Venus. It's a kapha planet, watery planet. So moon, right, and another kapha planet, um, it's generally, they find exaltation here. Moon finds its exaltation in Krittika. Moon is another kapha planet. So clearly the moon, Venus here, finding a bit comfortable. Of course, Venus in Krittika generally, if it is in male chart, the marriage may not be very good, right? Because Venus is the partner, the wife, and Krittika has that cutting nature. That's where the problem comes in. But Krittika basically, if you observe, only one pada is in Aries, and the remaining three padas are in Taurus, which is Venusian uh, area, because Taurus belongs to Venus, and that's where they assign kapha quality. And moon finds its maximum exaltation here in Krittika. Moon is another kapha planet. Its ruling deity Kartikeya is supposed to have a lustrous body, which is normally associated with the kapha nature. That is also another reason why they assign kapha quality to this particular nakshatra. And if you observe the direction of Krittika, it is related primarily to the arc covering the directions from east, southeast to south. So this Agneya, right? We generally say Agneya. So east to south, if you move, this particular area belongs to Krittika nakshatra. Because east, and then after east you can find the southeast, which we call as Agneya. That is where generally people construct their kitchen. Agni related things they keep there, generally a stove. And then the south, this area, mainly the Agneya, and then some part of the east and south, that area, basically that arc covering the east to south, the Agneya direction, basically that is Kritika's direction. And Kritika's, of course, Kritika's deity is not only Kartikeya but also Agni, right? The flame. And this is the fundamental behavior of Krittika. Thanks for watching this video.